Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All right. So, all right. All right, guys. I gotta apologize. I gotta pause this for like a few minutes, and I'll be back. Okay. I started the lecture too early, a couple minutes too early. So hang in there. You might get tempted to go to a different video, but I mean, feel free to do so. But hang in there a couple minutes. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, guys. I'm back. Your patience has paid off. All right. Okay. First of all, whoever you are, welcome. I'm going to explain who I am, why I'm giving this talk, what's going to happen. All right, let's do this. I'm going to play for you my recently favorite song. The soundtrack to the soul of 2024. All right, let's do this. First of all, guys, welcome. My name is Amin Jaber Ansari. In 2014, I decided to give 10,000 talks for the betterment of mankind under the online alias Mr.Within. Compared to last year and this year, there's been a fundamental transformation in my approach to reality. I want to speak to you not as someone whose personality is trying to engage you, but simply as a human being on a rock in the middle of what appeared to us as at first nowhere, what we call it everywhere. Dear human beings, the position of my communication to you is from the position our existence is found. I am, for you to keep in mind what kind of person I am. I am a person who is a visual thinker. I'm having a cinematic experience of my mind and I'm verbalizing it, vocalizing it. Aside from that, I am also Muslim and I am also a sci-fi writer. And by being Muslim, I consider this world, this whole existence as a system, and God is the system admin. And I am a member, and there are even moderators. And I consider this world to be simulated, that we are in, and I consider God to be the power of the original world. When it comes to science fiction, I am that human being that looked at the geometry of what is existing now and wondered of how many ways, in what variations, in what modes does it change, in what ways does existence happen. You cannot tell me that you're a human being on earth and no part of you has ever thought what's going to happen to everyone or where did everything come from. These are fundamental questions. If you look at the human experience from at least a secular position, you will come to this realization that there are, in some sense, three states of acknowledgement. The human experience is organized through the invisible governance of time. Time to the human experience is a sort of trio in regards to past, present, future. The spiritual community has obsessed over the present. The intellectual community has obsessed over the past. The creative community is obsessed over the future. But for us as human beings, a great advancement in our civilization is a great advancement in the psychology of the entities that move that civilization. When I speak to you about civilization, I want you to consider the word civilization to be the output and the result and the expression of all human activity on earth. There are some important considerations of the position of the human being. You as a human being have to ask yourself, why are you playing this unique game? Why do your eyes open to a value proposition that in accordance to your subjectivity, in accordance to your ideology, compartmentalizes itself? You see, I am speaking about civilization. I am speaking about the legacy of every human being that is alive now. And if you care, you will walk up the staircase to realize that you will reach a point in the mountain where you can only step alone. You know, I have played, just like a monkey jumping from branch to branch. I have leaped from ivory tower to ivory tower to seclusions of just absolutism in thought. I have had moments where I have conceived this whole reality to be meaningless. I have conceived this whole reality to be just one complete meaning. I have conceived this whole reality to be two worlds in some sense dancing with one another. I have conceived that there is infinite versions, as if this world is it's as if God is the original voice and the echo of this voice is what has been left behind as man's efforts to discover the origin, to return to the origin. I am no longer talking to you as if you are an idea in the world. You are not just an idea. I have to take a revolutionary stance against the massive normalization of the acceptance of perception in this current era. Okay, Most human beings are automated. Most everybody is automated. You don't realize this automation because your free will is like a light you're so close to, you cannot see what sort of shadows it is creating. Born within a transforming civilization is the implication that there is perhaps there is a specific implication behind why you were born now. Why were you born now? If you look at the human experience, and let's say you're secular and religion is too much for you, even though religion is way ahead of its time. I'm religious, and the way I became religious was as simple as remembering when I was a kid in school, in middle school, and there was a principal in the room. And the only difference between religious and non-religious people is the sincere acknowledgement of a higher power. Think of life, I explain it like this. As a video game, this video game has 3 levels. Level 1 is the level of the body. The level of the body is the level of handling objects. You're handling yourself as an object. You're handling others as an object. You're handling the world as an object. That means if you know how to climb a tree, if you know how to drive a car, use a public bathroom. You understand what I'm saying? If you know these basic things, these are, in some sense, your relationship with your world, your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with others, but based on each level. So what that means is in the level of the body, level 1, which is physical, your physical existence. Sorry, guys, Sorry about that, guys. Work phone. I got like 30 minutes. Then gotta go solve real world problems. Local problems. This lecture is like me solving international problems. Alright, let's keep going. To bring your attention to how life can be viewed from different angles, and I say this to my closest friends, I'll say it to you too. Become like an eagle. An eagle can land on a branch, have a specific conclusion, specific point of view, and it can fly in the sky and see all points of view at once. So, back to the video game of life, how you open your eyes in this world. And if you're a new being, a new player in this game, this is one player in the game giving you feedback, giving a feedback report to humanity of how it's been, right? So level 1 is the body. Okay, body is the realm of objects. The realm of objects is found in front of our eyes. And so when you look at the body, the purpose, the mission that the level 1 you need to accomplish is survival. So this purpose of the body in level 1, the purpose of being an object is to maintain our objectivity, but also to function through and navigate and pilot our physical existence. This is your responsibility for level 1. That means if you become healthy, and I'll tell you the strategy. The strategy is to become a minimalist. Desires are, after some point, bullshit and self-destructive. So level 1, purpose to complete this mission, it's survival. Level 2 is the level of the mind. The level of the mind is the realm of subjects. The realm of subjects is found behind your eyes. I call this, traditionally and previously in 2000, I called it the inner realms. Okay? So level 2 is how do you, it's not about surviving as a subject. The game is different. The mission in level 2 is different. Level 1 was survive as an object. Level 2 is serve as a subject. The mind is not like the body. The level of the mind is not like the body in the same sense that the body has a fear of non-existence, but the mind, every day we go to, every night we go to sleep and wake up and we have no problem with our consciousness vanishing and suddenly waking up in the morning from the last checkpoint. So the purpose of the mind is service. Level 2 is service. And the task, the problem, if the challenge of level 1, the body is what is the body going to do when it comes to death and non-existence and the afterlife? And then when it comes to the mind, what is the mind going to do out with all the infinite viewpoints there are, and which does it choose? And if the mind, it feels itself to be like a candle. It knows that it is here for some time and it can do something, but what can it do before it leaves? What greater value can its existence create before it is dismissed or leaves this realm? So what I'm telling you is that you're like a chemical, and the purpose of life is to get involved in a sense of a chemical reaction that in some sense honors the human legacy. But the human legacy is not the human legacy, and the species is not just the species. Your eyes have opened. You find yourself in a world. If you think about the story of it, you will be fascinated to realize that our ancestors were hilarious. Oh, humanity, your ancestors were fucking funny. And let me explain. Our ancestors opened their eyes in a random place. Okay, and they were savage, vicious, and wild, and the world was a jungle until man became civilized. But his civility came at a cost. His civility came at the cost of, for a moment, forgetting truth so that a lie could replace the massive unknown with a specified artificial knowledge. So what does that mean? Our ancestors opened their eyes, they freaked out, they started telling themselves a story so the meaninglessness of it all did not chaotically destroy them. And they have been polishing that story up until now, where the human era is capable of being conscious enough to realize that our suffering is due to man-made inaccuracy. I want you to imagine that there was an extraterrestrial general. This is like hypothetical, just I'm being playful here. Don't take any of this seriously. But imagine there was a very advanced extraterrestrial general. Some celestial being, very advanced being. And this advanced being saw a civilization that in some sense was at the crossroads of self-destruction or self-ever-presence. How much do we care for the human form? How much do we care for the human biology? How much do we care for what happened to all of us? How much do we care that those who will come will understand the meanings that we could not? How much do we care that we're living for something that will live longer than us? What greater honor is left? They have stripped the human species of their honor. They have left you as an individual, stripped out of your collective birthright that you are a presence in existence. You were created by the Almighty. The Almighty was uncaused. Therefore, the uncaused causality, you as an effect in causality, will realize that the uncaused is the administration. What does this mean? Immediately be conscious of the system admin that is beyond the worldly form. Put your attention to that which is greater than you. Do not be afraid. The great human allegiance is the allegiance of the human species with its origin. And so the human species marches towards the original, like bewildered, simulated beasts, having an essence, having a glimpse, having some part of them that knows the original. And so you return to your creator. Do you know who was it? Rudyard Kipling. He said, I don't remember exactly, but he's like, to be able to talk with kings and not lose the common touch. And so you must have an ability to be in the presence of the highest intelligent interactions in this world and also the least intelligent interactions. Eight billion human beings. What strategy should they take? An approach is by seeing level 1, level 2, and level 3. I didn't even explain level 3. Level 1 is the body. The purpose of the body is survival. Level 2 is service. Level 2 is the mind. The purpose of the mind is service. Level 3 is the soul. The purpose of the soul is to remember beyond the simulation. Is to get close to the original power. If you want to build an advanced civilization, you require advanced beings. If you want advanced beings, these advanced beings require an advanced power. So we cannot do something advanced limited by imaginable imperfection when there is a power that brings the unimaginable perfection. Every person is a shape. Everybody's a shape. What was it? There was like this famous song called Shape of You or whatever. Right? So everybody, every sense of you, every sense of self in this world has a shape. If you pay attention, what is the difference between a human being and a tree, for example? A tree is rooted to the earth. It is connected to the earth. Human beings, the body is separate from the earth. We can walk on the earth. Therefore, by walking on the earth, it's as if we get an experience, we're in the earth. The whole concept of location exists due to physical separation from the world. But if you actually look at it, there is no such thing as a world. There's just different intensities of reality changing. What do I mean by this? That means you are existing as a being that has an expiration date. The earth is existing, the earth as a position of being that has an expiration date. And just because we are changing faster, just because the candle is melting faster than the world is changing to our perception, we feel that we have time here. So time is the luxury of the ignorance of man to avoid how existence is not only just happening at once, but at the same time, it has unknown variables, unknown angles. That means theoretical physicists are actually choosing not to see the mysterianism of it all. Do you understand what I'm saying? I got so horrified, and I just started laughing. Have you ever followed something hoping it was true, and then like it had the silliest outcome, right? So this was for me, was like in some sense following the new, like getting interested in the new atheist ideologies, and then being like, this is excuse me, this is dog shit. Let me explain to you why I'm using that word, okay? Because it's like they're saying, yo, don't believe in an invisible owner of the world, but when you look at me, the idea of me, which is invisible, owns me. Do you understand? It's like saying I don't believe in the invisible, right? I don't believe in an invisible God or system admin, and then at the same time being, but I believe in the invisible idea of myself that is saying that I don't believe in God. So the atheist movement was the most weirdest thing, in the sense of they came to nullify God, but in doing so did not realize the ego is in a similar position as God. If you nullify the invisible reality, you're nullifying the idea of yourself, which is invisibly being real as you. So to me, I was like, yo, this is nonsense, right? This is pretty much, you know what, why it's nonsense? It's like saying God doesn't exist, and then you're like, wait a minute though, do you exist? And the person's like, no, 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 not only does God not exist, I don't exist either. You know, like that's the fucking answer they gave. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, excuse me, but that was nonsense. Nonsense. The idea of God is invisible, you don't believe it, but the idea of yourself, which is invisible, you believe. Like, that makes no sense. So it's the level of mind. Human beings are in level 1 and 2, most human beings. When the species accesses level 3 only happens when you realize you're not the main event of this life. And you realize level 3 is when you realize there is a higher power and you're not the main event, and you in some sense are not driving your life anymore, you're in the passenger seat. This doesn't mean you don't have free will. This just means the burden of the totality of existence is not just on your free will. Anyways, back to it. Born within a transforming civilization. Please pay attention. You as an organism in this world, as a life form, have a capacity to notice things way superior than any other life form visible in this domain. The world is too big to index to come to an accurate conclusion. We are too temporary to explore it all. And when it comes to trying to figure out what we are, at least for a Muslim, in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the soul is the secret of God. That means you cannot know yourself. That means in your effort to know yourself, you nullify yourself, you misguidedly think you're oneness and don't realize you're worshiping the world. God is beyond the world. If you love God, you must love beyond this world. If you want to serve, like to me when I pray, like just to tell you the experience of a religious person, right? When I pray, I feel like I'm a peasant in the presence of that which is like a king that wears the world as a crown. What that means is God is not a form. God is a presence, a mighty power. It is like working with the original power of reality rather than a moderator. I am here This is Mr. Within's task, to give the option to the human species, to pilot the human species directly to the system admin. I saluted the moderators. I understand what's going on. But more than we need the guidance of powerful beings inside a simulation, we need the guidance of the being beyond the simulation. Go towards the system administrator. In the future, in the cyberspace era, this might have a sacred value in the sense of like the sysadmin, right? People will start saying the sysadmin as a sort of getting closer and closer to the word God. The whole point of it is that God is, as one understands it, it's more like a state. It's more like you gotta hold the telescope in a certain way. Pretty much the crossroads of the lower self and the higher self. The lower self wants to be the world. The higher self wants to go towards truth. The truth is beyond this world. That means, what are your standards of acceptance as a being? A civilization in transit. All human beings alive in 2024 are experiencing that phase of human civilization where the savagery, the flames of the savagery of the old world need to burn out for a new light to enter. Which means all chaotic beings in the world need to pause. You need to pause your chaos until the advanced civilization is ushered in. And of course, this is not by the voice of one man, it is by God's decree. That means even if all human beings wanted to build an advanced civilization, it would still require an additional permission. That permission is by its decree. That means, you see, it's not that a human voice can organize all human beings. It is a power that organizes all human beings. And so when you have problems, let's say you have a problem with a company, do you go speak to a manager of that store, or you go speak to the owner of that store, right? You don't just speak to the employee, you don't speak to the manager, you go directly to the one that has authorization of the whole system. So when I'm telling you God is a fascinating idea, because it's telling you go towards that which authorizes, is the authorizer, okay? And so you got to understand, where you're not on a rock in the middle of nowhere where you can have any idea and think it's true. You're on a rock, you're in a world that has design before you were born, and this world has an owner. And the owner is not equivalent to the owned. The creator is not equivalent to the creation. I don't care how Buddhic and yogic you are. I used to be like this myself, and I realized there was some part of it that was off. Something was off. And what was off was the equalization of self to the ultimate self, which is God, which is an error, because then you're worshiping your form. So you got to see beyond your form. You got to realize the artwork is not the artist, and that relationship is healthy. I think human beings are not per se even here to get enlightened and suddenly transformed. They are here in some sense to notice that there is a higher power. There is a transcendental, a divine agency. There is an agency. It's a system. Like, zoom into life. Look at how things happen, right? Go scroll through your memories. You will find moments where things could have happened that were really bad that didn't for some reason, right? You will notice situations that it's like, yo, that person got lucky, but was it luck? Or was it that the system has administration, that the employee in the company is watched over, watched after, you know? So keep in mind, dear humanity, you're not just alone here. There's pretty much, these are the four multiple choice. Like, who wants to be a millionaire? You have four options. Think of the idea of worship to be equivalent to where your attention is stationed, okay? And so your attention can be stationed, can be stuck on yourself, can be on yourself, it can be on others, it can be on the world. And all these three are the wrong answers because they are worldly and they loop, they are forms. The only answer is your attention must be stationed. Your faith, which is the trust in the acceptance of what you know, what you are knowing, in some sense. When you experience the limitations of your body and mind, you open to level 3. If you're still enjoying the level of body and mind, level 3 is not, it's not the time yet. But it's not up to one individual. It's God's decree. I'm a member, okay? I'm not even a moderator. I worked with moderators, discovered that was shirk, immediately asked God, the Creator, for forgiveness and completely realigned my allegiance to the only power, the one and only. I have become a singularian. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. There's more to say, and there's more to see. But ultimately, we're all putting an effort towards the greatness of the human legacy. I want you, the next time you do anything in this world, or tomorrow when you wake up, just for a moment, just sit down and feel all the unborn future generations watching you, the system admin and all the moderators, the original power of the world watching you. And if you can acknowledge it sincerely, you will see why somebody who for a decade was spiritual suddenly became religious in a very short period of time. The power, the actuality of the higher power in how events take place, once you get to level 3 and you submit your expectations of your future self to God and you allow yourself to get surprised by this power, you will be fascinated by what happens. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Remember, guys, God is all forgiving. That's a clue. That's a clue that even after heaven and hell, even after eternity, there is still potential redemption. So in some sense, whoever you are, it's about realizing whose world we're in, to acknowledge this one and only power, and to live this life with not simulated energy, but with original energy. And therefore, I use the phrase, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, which means all praise due to the Lord of the worlds. That means nothing in the world deserves praise more than that which is the author of it. The original power of the realm, the original force, the one and only uncaused truth of causality of all. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. May God forgive our species. May God forgive us all. And may humanity be guided towards the fascination that by working through the original power with the energy of the original world, and man realizing that it is not just here to have a physical, objective or subjective relationship, but is here to notice that it is a relationship beyond them. Your eyes are far deeper than any idea you have had. And your creator is a power greater than anything anyone can give you form-wise. God bless humanity. Thank you.